Jerry insisted on drinking whiskey from a peanut butter jar tonight. And I said, it's okay.
Well, if you don't get paid, at least you can have fun.
Five foot two, eyes of blue, oh, but what those 5 feet do? Has anybody seen my gal? Turn down nose, turn down hose, flapper, yes sir, one of those. Has anybody seen my gal? Now if you run into 5 foot two, covered with furs, diamond rings and all those things, you can bet your life it isn't her. Could she laugh? Could she goo? Could she goo? Has anybody seen my gal? All right, here it is. Now if you run into 5 foot two, covered with furs, diamond rings and all those things, you can bet your life it isn't her. Could she laugh? Could she goo? Could she goo? Has anybody seen my? Has anybody seen my? Has anybody seen my gal? Thank you, Jerry. When I was 11, my dad, who was a lawyer by profession, used to come home every night and play the ukulele, and he'd also play his Lowry organ. And it was a family event for us. There was 5 of us kids. We were the DZ family. All of our names started with D, including my parents. It was Dean, Dina, Diane, Dane, Dale, Doug, and Damon. And to this date, I have trouble naming all my siblings. We used to stand around Dad and help him sing through his repertoire of songs, like 5 foot two and one of my favorites, Katie. Remember that one? And we all took something different away from the experience. For me, it was a desire to learn how to play music, and when I told my parents, they signed me up for piano lessons. And I had a nice piano teacher. She was an older lady, Mrs. Crumpet. She had long gray hair that she kept in braids. And it wasn't long before we were working out of book number 2. Maybe some of you are familiar with that book. It had a rabbit in a tuxedo on the cover holding a sign that said, Book 2. And all the songs in the book were illustrated. There'd be a big illustration on the left and a little bit of music on the right. And during one of my lessons, Mrs. Crumpet announced that I'd be playing in the upcoming piano recital. And she picked a song out of the book called Porky Pig on Ice. It had a picture of a pig skating under the stars. It was a waltz tempo piece. And the recital was a nice affair at Mrs. Crumpet's house. She served lemonade and cookies. I was dressed in a white shirt, black pants. These are the same ones I was wearing. And still have them. But all the other participants in the recital were older girls with frizzy hair and horn-rimmed glasses with speckles on the end of them. And after the usual amount of chit-chat, Mrs. Crumpet announced the first performer. Now, and Mary Jean Whitman will be playing Brahms' First Piano Concerto in C-sharp major. Now, Mary Jean asked if she could transpose the piece from the original key of E-flat into her favorite key was 7-sharp. Mary Jean was brilliant. Her hands looked like dancers just going up and down the keyboard. I was sitting in the back with my bunny book neatly tucked under my arm, and I overheard the girl next to me tell her friend, you know, Mary Jean isn't as good as she was last year. That made me nervous. And then Mrs. Crumpet announced the next performer. And now, Priscilla Wolfgang Cornelius is going to be playing The first movement from Mozart's 40th Symphony, Allegro in E flat. And to make it more challenging, she's going to play it with mittens on. It was another brilliant performance, followed by more performances by girls named Millicent and Muffy and Gwendolyn, all playing etudes and concertos by foreign-sounding composers. And then it was finally my turn. And now, little dog Zinn is going to be playing Porky Pig on Ice in G major. When I opened up my bunny book, and 22 mistakes later, I quit piano. And on the way home, my dad tried to console me by telling me about his childhood violin recital. He said he was so bad that his music teacher made him tap dance instead of play the violin. I think what Dad was trying to tell me was that maybe I should take up another instrument. So I decided maybe I should take up guitar and join a rock and roll band. And that was a fateful decision that actually brought me to Colorado Springs, because I went on to study guitar formally at the University of New Mexico and joined a band called Juniper, and we used to come through Colorado Springs in the late 70s and play at Hungry Farmer and Thunder and Buttons. And when the band broke up, we all decided to move here and pursue our individual careers, and that's when I met this guy, as a matter of fact. But I digress, because my music career really started back in Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1967. I was 15 years old. It was the era of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Jefferson Starship, Iron Butterfly. And so I thought it would be fun if you could pick out some of the licks from that era, and we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Got it?
Dance if you want to. Did you recognize some of those songs? I didn't. No. Well, I was a typical teenager back in 1967 in Santa Fe, and as teenagers, on a Friday night, you would cruise the main drag, Cerrillos Road. And first you'd cruise the plaza, then you'd cruise Vips for Friends, then you'd cruise the Tasty Freeze. And then, once you got tired of cruising, you usually wound up in one of Santa Fe's 3 teen nightclubs. There was the Pit Club, there was the Trip, and there was JP's Palace. Love that place. And every weekend, all 3 of those clubs hosted Battle of the Bands. And the winner of the battle was selected by audience applause at the end of the night. So you didn't have to be a good band, you just needed friends. It was a good deal. And there was lots of bands back in those days. There was the Anvil Cloud, there was the Humble Harvey, there was the Morticians, there was the 19th Amendment, they were the all-girls band. There was the Rocky Nieces, and then there was the band I belonged to, the Muppet Men. Now, we didn't start out as the Muppet Men. We started out as the Intruders, but when Philip, who was 2 years older than the rest of us, joined the band, he insisted on changing the name of the band to the Muppet Men. Philip made all the executive decisions for the band, including drinking whiskey from a peanut butter jar before every gig. It gave me spinny room, and it made the rhythm guitar player, Bill Pyatt, throw up on stage. But everybody thought it was part of the act. Muppet Men were a bad band, and it was partly because of our equipment situation. We had a lot of homemade equipment. You know, we made our own mic stands with fishing rods that we rolled in Elmer's glue and glitter. You know, we had the only fishing rods in the world with eyelets. Nobody could figure that one out. And Bill Pyatt played out of an amp that was in his guitar case. He just set his guitar case up and played. And we also had an amplifier that was just guts and speakers. And we didn't know that many songs, so when somebody did hire us for a gig, we had to play the Monkees' I'm Not Your Stepping Stone over and over and over again. And about the 10th time, people just used to stand on the dance floor and look at us and frown. I was so desperate for a gig that I once told a lady that we could play Latin music. And we showed up and played Little Latin Loopy-Loo. Remember that one? Talk about my baby, Little Latin Loopy-Loo. Yeah. She was not happy. Well, Philip came up with the idea that if we had a light show, that we would get more gigs. And back in those days, light shows consisted mainly of strobe lights, like this one if you stand right here underneath the fan, and black lights, and a liquid light show. And we used to make our own strobe lights with Folgers coffee cans, and we took a slot car racer and duct taped it on top, and that would spin a cardboard wheel with a slot cut out in front of a floodlight that was in the can. And our liquid light show was a Pyrex dish that we filled up with combinations of water and oil. And that would be placed on top of an overhead projector, and somebody's girlfriend had to operate it, tilt it back and forth. And it would make psychedelic designs behind you all over the wall, you know? I came up with this idea one time to fill up the Pyrex dish with water and release fish. Because I was thinking, the fish will make their own psychedelic designs. But I forgot about the heat factor. And as soon as we released the fish, they died. And it was very sad because we were playing I'm Not Your Stepping Stone with a bunch of dead fish floating behind us. So tonight I'm going to hopefully recreate those Santa Fe band days for you. So you have to imagine that you're back in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the year is 1967. You've decided to go to the Battle of the Bands at JP's Palace. And as you drive in the parking lot, you see a 1960s black hearse, and that would have been the Mortician's band car. And you would have seen the 19th Amendment up by the door, greeting customers and flirting because they're trying to get votes for the Battle of the Bands. And in the corner of the parking lot, you'd see the Muppet Man drinking whiskey from a peanut butter jar in a 1955 Ford station wagon. And when you walk through the doors, it looks like prom night. There's shiny foil all over the walls, and there's crepe paper hanging down from the ceiling. And pretty soon, JP himself comes out on stage in a little purple sequins tuxedo. Hello and welcome to JP's Palace. Tonight we're going to have the Battle of the Bands between the Morticians and the 19th Amendment and the Muppet Man. And without further ado, let's have a big hand for the Muppet Man.
I'm a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. Little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. Keep everything in the barnyard, upset in every way. Dogs begin to bark, hounds begin to howl. Ow! Dogs begin to bark, hounds begin to howl. Look out, all you cool cat people. Little red roosters on the prowl. So what you gonna do? Watch this. See my little red rooster, please drive him home, home. See my little red rooster, please drive him home. I ain't had no fun in the barnyard since the little red rooster's been gone. Thank you.